we're stuck on the back of a giant bounding sea monster. Well, the car world is insanely fun, but it can, if you get really, really immersed in it, in business, life, hobby, everything, it can also be a lot. And generally can feel like somebody took a whole lot of Siamese fighting fish and put them in the same little fishbowl. And sometimes you need a break. Remember back in the early teens, like 2012, 2013, I was having a lot of fun with Cars and Coffee guys down in Columbus and Pittsburgh, driving the Viper, just having a blast, going to track days now and then, riding motorcycles. We go to shows and events. But this is also the time that I was starting Genius Garage. Got that concept because I really want to do something big. And the first year, of course, took a lot of energy, really wore me out. I was also building my Omega car prototype, that recyclable car prototype I was doing, which took a lot of energy, really started to wear me out. It was so much being around this weird world of cars and exotic cars and things like that. And just in life, I think you get a point, like people have midlife crisis or quarter life crisis and all these sorts of things. I got toward the end of the year and I'm like, I'm worn out. Do I even know which way is up anymore? And I love history and I love adventures. And there's something I wanted to do. I had heard a story a long time from a guy, I was down in St. Augustine, Florida, that he sailed and crewed on tall ships. Old, like, mini rig. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's transportation. That's cool. Honestly, at that moment in 2013, I didn't want to be anywhere near a car for a while. I just wanted to get away. And I ended up finding two places I could go sailing. One was a tall ship that was going to go to the Galapagos. And I'm like, that's cool. That's kind of like Darwin's journey, you know what I mean? That'd be cool. I'm like, the water's, it's probably too warm and boring down there. And there's gonna be an iguanas. And what am I gonna, Darwin's already been down there and had his epiphany. And the other one was a ship called the Stad Amsterdam. It was a 3-masted clipper ship, which is basically a replica of the Cutty Sark, which is one of the fastest sailing ships from the 1800s, the T-Trade. Big square rig, beautiful thing. But there was adventure sailing, which translates to, this ship is owned by, I think, the guy who owns the Ronstadt shipping company that also sponsors Formula One. And this is his like personal crown jewel. And it's also partly done with Amsterdam. It was named Stad Amsterdam. So it's a really neat thing. And it'll go places in the world to, like maybe it'll sail into the Monaco harbor for the Formula One race. And they'll entertain people there and do a neat thing. Or it'll go to Amsterdam to celebrate their history. Or it'll go do some luxury thing in the Caribbean. But the ship has to get to those places all throughout the year. So if you want to be adventurous and basically be part of the crew, you can sign up for that. So I thought I'd do that. And it was November, and I didn't have time for a cross-Atlantic journey because of everything I was doing in the car world and business, but I'm like, I think I can at least spare 2 weeks. So I made a decision. I remember my dad's like, this is a terrible idea. That's crazy. You don't even know. Because like the native language of the ship was English. That was good. But he's just being all like small town on me. And I'm like, this means it's a good idea and I need to go. So I booked it and they were really amazing. I go into Amsterdam and forget cars there. There's more bicycles than people. That's what they do. I just rode around for a day or two, going to a cafe, like hanging out at Rembrandt's house, the artist, like doing etchings. I know all this eccentric non-car stuff. And having fun. And then the ship was going to leave from Immouden, this old, historic, going way back port. And I'm actually kind of nervous. I'm like, what did I just sign up for? Like, I've not been on the ocean. This used to be deep sea space exploration, like not that long ago. And I don't know any of these people. What if it's crewed by a bunch of Russians and they throw me overboard or something? Like, I have no idea. So I'm ready for anything, right? I think I'm ready for anything. And I go up to the ship, and the first thing I realize, and I don't know why I had it in mind that it was going to be the 1800s and like it's bad luck to have a woman in the 1800s on a sailing ship. And I arrive and the first person I see is this tall, beautiful blonde woman. Like when you're being a Dutch and she's like, hello. And I'm like, are you, I'm like, well, coming aboard. She's like, well, I'm the doctor. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you're the doctor? And so we walk on the ship and it's beautiful. It's like the 1800s. I'm like, oh my God. This is like being on Star Trek The Next Generation, but in the 1800s. And I was like kind of geeking out in this world I was in. And I realized the crew is all these young people from all around the world. And it turned out I was the only person there from either North or South America, which is actually really cool. We go through the whole thing on the first day. Everybody's excited. They're going through emergency procedures. Everybody learn to what it is. Because there wasn't many people on the ship. I think it was maybe 22 crew and maybe 7 or 8 people that signed up for adventure sailing. So we've got a 250-foot long sailing ship in the ocean. And just us right? So I get a place to sleep, and we're doing all this, and of course I get there, I'm all excited and being stupid. They're like, you want a coffee? I'm like, yeah, I'll have a coffee, and the Europeans are smoking. You want it? I'm like, why not? And so I do all this, have too much fun, and then we start shoving off and raising yard arms, and I get like overheated. I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. And so it starts getting the evening, and I try to go to sleep, and I feel horrible. I've never slept on a ship. I'm like rolling around in this bed, and I can't sleep. And they wake me up for watch. Like 2 times you get up, you sleep 2 times during the day. It's not a normal 12-hour cycle. I'm like, okay, I'm awake. Holy crap. We're somewhere in the North Sea. This was called the graveyard of ships in history, okay? In the middle of the night, there's clouds, it's heeling over, it's bounding through the ocean. I feel sicker than I've ever been in my entire life. Like, I got to ride in a fighter jet once and managed to get through that somehow. And I am sicker than a dog on this. I am heaving my guts out in the bathroom. I'm like, okay, it's time to go to watch. So I go up on this thing, and I'm like nauseous, and the hallways are like this and up there. And I go out, and when you go out of the long room, there's kind of this port that comes out and metal doors that seal. And the door they open is the one on the leeward side. Like when the ship leans over, you don't want this one because water could be blazing in, right? And this is a sailing ship. And I look out the door, and there's a bulkhead here, and I'm sicker than me. And I turn and I look, and all I see is black death. Like it was the ocean, like right there, like wind. I'm like, oh my God, what did I just sign up for, right? And I sit there for a moment. And I go, all right, here we go. So I walk over the porthole like this and like grab a rope and look. He's like, okay, we're going to put up the high wind ropes. And our first step, when I am nauseous as all get out, I can't even see stars. I can't see the horizon, so that's not helping the nauseousness, is put up high water ropes. Not cables, like old ropes, tie them off around the ship so you can grab on it when you're going around. And we go to the back of this thing. The one guy, he was European. I think he was German. And then I had another adventurous guy from Turkey with me who I befriended. And we go to the back of this thing, and he and I, we're hauling this rope, right? Like just pull as hard as we can from the stern of the ship. And on ships, the front or the rears go up the most, right? Like this. The wind is howling. All of the lines are howling like it sounds like a jet is landing over top of you. And this thing absolutely feels alive. We're pulling on this rope like this, and it reminded me of riding a horse. When you're on a full gallop, a horse that doesn't want to stop, and you're pulling back as hard as you can, and it's just bounding, and it doesn't care. And I felt like me and these guys were roped to this giant sea monster Leviathan. Like, that is absolutely what it felt like. We're stuck on the back of a giant bounding sea monster through mythology, just busting through the waves like boosh, boosh, boosh while it's howling. And it was an otherworldly mythological experience for me. And I'm sick as can be feeling. We're doing this. I'm like, oh my God. So we're walking away, scouting some things out, and I'm walking with a Turkish guy, and we go down in the long room, and it sort of like writes a little bit. And I think I'm okay for a minute, like not sick. And then it starts to heal over. And I just remember him standing in the long room like this, like a Michael Jackson music video from like the early 90s or something. And I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom right now. The thing that's wonderful about Ridiculous Adventures is like this. I just needed to get away. Oh, I got away. And I love things that just smack you in the face. But I think from the car world and being so focused on this that young people do, I needed an opportunity to get away from it and just reassess life. It was just so incredible in that way. And, climbing out onto the bowsprit in the front where the ship is going up and down, and I'm standing on these giant chains, literally over the Atlantic Ocean in my old horse riding boots, thinking, yeah, there's no messing this up. You know what I mean? And you're walking out past the woman of the ship on the bow, and dolphins are beneath you, like riding the compression wave and such, and climbing in the rigging. Oh, and by the way, the 2 things I'm actually scared of are heights and deep water. So, that's a great opportunity to get over it. And I remember when I got back to Wi-Fi, I reassessed my friend network, shall we say, on Facebook, and got rid of some shallow people that I thought, I don't need that in my life. When I first went on this journey, I just had a Porsche 944, my old silver white BBS, nothing special, just my sports car at the time. I got back to it with my brother was a pilot, picked me up at the airport, and some plane, we bought back to that. And I remember driving my car. It was funny because first of all, I'm a car guy, but I was just driving it and went over some things like this, and it instantly made me seasick because I didn't know how a car moved anymore. But the takeaway for that story that isn't specifically cars was that the automotive world is so much fun. It's so amazing in every way you could want it to be. It's a complement to life when you're driving places. It's sport. It can be teaching. It can be a business. But sometimes too, I think it's important just to get away for a minute, have an adventure, maybe just go on a drive with your friends and reassess what matters and what values to you. And I just remember sitting in the 944 thinking, you know what, this car is hardly worth a thing, but it's a great sports car and I'm enjoying it. And I got to connect with something more than I did before, because I just got to regroup and reset to enjoying cars for being cars. And for me, having a wild adventure like that really gave me an opportunity to get perspective and enjoy it once again. And now when and in the whole car scene, I enjoy what's great, and I don't worry about the things that'll bother me, and it's just so much better.
A watch can do a lot more than just tell time. It can make a statement to the world or show people a little bit more about who you want to be. Vincero offers an awesome line of designer watches at a great value that you can check out today at the link in the description below. You can also use the code VINwiki for a discount at checkout, so be sure to check them out and thank them for their support of the channel and find your next watch. It might start a great conversation, turn some heads, or who knows, lead to your next great story.